speak loudly, I don't know.
Right, go on, far away.
So your name is...
Arnold Albert Ward.
And how old are you now?
Jesus. No, 86.
86. Yep.
I'm in my 87th year.
So you was born on the 10th of December 1929, and that is also famous in history for what?
For my birth.
And is it not the onset of the Great Depression?
Well, it was actually, yes.
Right.
Yes, it was.
Now you was the youngest of 3 siblings? 4.
God, no.
4?
I've got 2 elder brothers, and then 2 elder sisters, and a younger sister.
Right. Okay, so we'll start with the oldest and go down to the youngest.
My elder sister, Elsie, and she is at the moment about 96, she's still alive. My next one down was Len, that was my brother, who came back in the army via Dunkirk. The next one would be Hilda. That was my sister. She was a bit of a glamour girl. She's now dead. Smoking killed her. Lots of smoking. And
so I'll blow it in the other direction.
And then what was the next one was
Freddie.
Freddie, my brother. He was wounded on D-Day. He was in the army. He came out eventually as a sergeant. He was in Germany during the occupation. He was in the occupation forces in Germany. Then, of course, there was my little sister Gwen, who was a few years, about 8 years, about 6 years, 7 years younger than me. Yeah.
And Gwen's still alive?
Yeah, Gwen's still alive. Her name's Chapman.
So you got Gwen and Elsie still alive.
Yeah.
And what happened to your brothers?
Died.
Well, yeah, but how? I mean, one you said cancer.
Well, I think Len was getting up along, of course, but I think he had cancer of the throat. I don't know if that's what killed him, but I think that's what he had. Fred had a cancer on the brain,
yeah,
and that's what killed him.
Now, and your mum and dad, what were their names?
My mother was Lillian Ward, and she was a Wicks.
Is that W-I-C-K?
CKX. Yeah.
CKS or W-I-X?
No, W-I-C-K-S.
S, Wicks, okay.
And that's basically who I take after that side of the family, right? And I think, God forbid, you and your brother do as well.
So that's dark hair when you had it?
Yeah, dark hair, brown eyes, and
olive skin.
Big, yeah, sort of big frame. But and her father was you've seen those photos of my mum as a little girl.
Yes.
With her dad.
Yeah.
And her brother, who was killed in the 14-18 war. Right? And Len her brother was Len. Yeah, and of course my father was Walters, obviously. Yeah.
So what was his name? He was Fred.
He was Fred. I think he was Fred Charles, and my brother was Frederick William or Vicky Verkio. I'm not quite sure which way it was. And Dad, he joined up at 17 and a half of the Great War, and he went all through bonds and through all that shit. So he had a fair old hammering during the war. But I also understand he was the lightweight champion boxer of his regiment at the time as well. So. And because he eventually ended up having his own business as a painter and decorator, and during the war, this last war, they, him and his mate, they was in partnership. They went around camouflaging factories and all that. And there is a tale said of them that at the Oval, there's the gasworks at the Oval with the big contometers there.
Yeah.
And they've got a framework there. And some of the blokes they used to hire to help paint them, if they got up high, they'd use the freeze. They couldn't do nothing. And Dad had to go up and sort of get them down. But they offered to, him and his mate offered to cycle a bike round the framework of this bloody box. And subsequently they were barred from going on that bloody framework.
So that explains the hooliganism. That does not explain why you have a pathological fear of heights, and so do I.
Well, this is it. I mean, he was a bit of a daredevil, I suppose. You know, he liked his booze, of course, and I believe he also, I think perhaps there's a sibling out there somewhere.
Oh, right.
But, although, because he died of cancer, as you know, he went and had that big operation and had all his stomach out.
And how old was he when he died?
I don't know, about 75, I think. I'm not quite sure with his age.
And Nanny lived quite old though, didn't she?
I think she was getting up to 80, yeah.
Oh, was she? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't think she was ultra old, but my grandmother, and that would be my mother's mother,
Yeah.
she lived to 106.
Good grief.
And her sister was 106 when she died as well. I know that my gran was brought up in London in all the smog and the smoke and all the shit, and but she loved her gin, and I've seen her put a half pint glass of gin, and I've seen her put it down there as quick as you put water down. But all right, so there is longevity with all that smoke in London, you know.
So smoke and gin.
It didn't seem to kill her.
Maybe she could have lived to 126 and. You know.
But the gin could pickle her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the where was you born?
I was born in Lambeth.
And where's Lambeth?
South London. So basically I'm a Cockney.
Oh, okay.
And
But you don't have the accent. You never have.
No, well, I'm posh, I was born in the slums. Malmsley Place it was called. And at the end of our street was the stables for horses and what have you. Because you know we're going back a few years. We're talking almost before motor cars. You know.
So this you won't recall this, but there's a book and it was made into a film called Angela's Ashes. It was set in Ireland, but there's a scene there of these rows of brick houses, and at the end there was stables and
that would be very similar to where I was born, and there was a school. I forget what it's called now. It was a school, and a couple of things that I remember there, or two or three things I remember, is that my mum used to go to work as a cleaner, office cleaner, so therefore that meant she had to go about 5 o'clock in the morning. And consequently, my sisters had to go to school, Victoria Street School. That was just at the end of the street. And so consequently there was a period of time that I was left alone in the house. So I was only 2, 3.
Oh, okay, good grief.
And at one stage there, and this may be my imagination, it may not be, but it's firmly in my mind that I was absolutely scared this one particular day. And the door opened, I was in bed, and the door opened, and I did see 4 angels come in. And that may be my imagination or not, but each stood at each end of the bed, and I felt quite comfortable.
And they looked after you.
And they looked after me till my mum came home. And then another time I remember sitting by the street door with the door open and a board in front of it. I suppose that's for us, so I couldn't get out into the street.
Oh, yeah.
I remember sitting there watching the rain and pouring out the rain, and all these, as it hit the deck, it jumps up, and they seemed to me like a load of people dancing. And I remember sitting there, and I, as I say, it must have been about 3. Another thing I got there was that also when I was through I went to school. So I went to the school, but basically what they did, they just gave us a spoonful of malt, all lined up, milk, a spoonful of malt, and milk, of course. And then in the afternoon, we all had to go to sleep in the hall, on beds and that. And that was because I was only 3, about 3. And I remember one day there, I must have shipped the trousers or something. And I had these silk, I can remember them now, silk type trousers.
Just remind you, we are recording this. If you.
Well, this is all true. So
Okay, well, some people just wouldn't want to admit that. That's fine.
Well, I don't mind. I was only bloody 3, and I do remember standing, and I remember this as though it was yesterday, standing in the school grounds, screaming out for my Elsie, because she was a kid in the school.
Oh, okay.
And I was in the playground, and I was screaming out for my Elsie. And eventually my Elsie came down and took me home and cleaned me up. Yeah.
So it was Elsie a bit like your surrogate mum?
Well, yeah, because she's
sister.
still the matriarch of the family now, isn't she? Yeah. Yes.
So where did you? What happened then? You know, like. That from that period to, I guess, you know, later on in life, we don't know much about it. Can you remember where you went or who left? Or
we moved out of Malmesbury Place eventually, and we went to Dog Kennel Hill, which is a load of council flats, or buildings as we called them, eh?
Yeah.
And I mean loads of them. There was at least 1, 2, 3, 4 great big roads full of these flats, and we lived in number 24 Inwood House, and that was on the first landing, that was, and we lived there, and they built a school at the top called that was Dog Kennel Hill School, but I didn't go to that. I went to a school called Grove Vale School, which was the old school down the bottom, and so that's where we were. And I think it was from there that I was evacuated eventually. Yeah.
So these council buildings, were they 2-story things? Were they?
Oh no, there was 4 landings.
Right, so they're a bit like the beginnings of what they call the tenements, I suppose.
They were a tenement, as such.
Okay.
And at the very top one, or in sort of the attic, was a big drawing room.
Oh yeah.
So in those days, people didn't have washing machines or things like that. And in these kind of tenements, you didn't have coppers either, you know. So what people used to do is, all their washing used to go what we call a bag wash. So you put all your dirty clothes in a bag, right? And Chummy comes around and collects them all, and then they take them away and they all get washed, and they come back, but they're still a bit damp. And so what my mum used to have to do, or the girls with her, then you take this damp stuff and you take right up to the top to this big expanse of attic sort of, and there were sort of lines up there, and there was no heating, it was just air, and you just hung all your washing up there. And as far as I can remember, nobody nicked any bloody washing in those days.
That's interesting.
As far as I can remember, I could, you know, but I never recall Mum creating about losing washing.
So, just you mentioned no one had televisions. Let's orientate ourselves with the technology. Telephones,
God no.
electricity.
Yeah.
You do have electricity.
And gas as well. There was gas lights. We had gas in the house, and you had gas mantle to light. But yeah, we did have, and of course we cooked by gas. We had gas stoves, so it was predominantly gas.
So they would have all seemed very modern and plush compared to the other place.
It was a real upmarket type thing, you know. Well, I think it was they were trying to get us all the slums out and put us all in this bloody rate in these buildings. I mean,
but generally, everybody was quite positive about you. The family would have been quite excited about moving there.
Oh, I don't know. It was a place to live, eh?
Right.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I just think it was.
What about? Did you have a car? I mean,
God, no. Nobody had cars.
Nobody had. Well, how did people get about?
Bus or walk. Oh yeah, nobody had cars. And you had a wireless, but that was a battery wireless, and the battery in those days was a glass battery, right? And you used to have to take it to the shop to get it recharged to come back, and that was your wireless, yeah.
Great.
And then you didn't have, and this is the thing that I've noticed on the wirelesses now. All we got is bloody records playing, right? But there was never any records played. If it was music, it was live music. Like there was during the war, there was a called Music While You Work, but it was a band that played. And then there was Albert Sandler from the Court Hotel. That came on a Sunday, and he played the violin, and it was sort of intermediate type music, not modern, not this modern rubbish or anything like that. So you didn't get any modern music. The first upset of what I call disc music, that was after the war, from Radio Luxembourg, right? And that was in France, I suppose. And if you could tune the wireless in, you could get Radio Luxembourg, and you got records. Yeah.
So, how old were you at I forget where it is, the tenement.
In Woodhouse?
Yeah.
Well, I was there from about, 4, 5, 5 and 6 till I was 9.
9. And what did you do in the evenings? What did you do after school and stuff?
Played out in the street, in the squares, where all the buildings and all that had the squares. We used to play in the squares. Played cricket or hot rice, what we used to call it. You had a ball and a bat, and you chucked it at each other, and you had to hit them on the legs. And if you got hit on the legs, you had to drop the bat, and whoever hit him on the legs picked the bat up, and it was his turn. Yeah. It was hot rice's play. And my brother made a cart, go-kart as you could call them now, a plank with a little box on, and 4 wheels, and the front wheels you turned. And because we was on Inwood House was a street, and then another street went down, and because it went downhill, right, to the bottom, so therefore we could go down this on this box cart. Yeah.
So you used to play with your brothers and sisters or other kids?
Oh, other kids mainly, yeah, because your brother was your brother. I mean, all he thought I was a punch bag. because he everlasting, I had bloody great bruises on each arm, because he kept going boom on that. You know, so there wasn't a lot of love there. Oh, I suppose there was love in that, but so you played with your own mates, because your brother was a little bit upper. Yeah. Yeah. And because that was Fred, I didn't know Len very well, because he was real manly by that time. I was just his little kid brother. So I had very little to do with Len. Hilda, excuse me, because Elsie, because she was the matriarch, so she was sort of mum as well, you know. And we lived on bread and dripping, if that's any consolation.
Is that what you had for dinner?
Yeah. Or I might have had a stew. Yeah. Didn't have egg or bacon. And if my mum cooked egg and bacon for my dad, we also sit around waiting for him to leave the Rhine or something. Yeah. So we never got egg or bacon. No. I think the girls, Hilda used to have a toast and marmalade. I remember that. And basically we would have bread. I would have bread and dripping.
And just to explain what is dripping.
Oh, it's the fat from the cooking, because you don't get it now. And yeah, it's the fat from dripping, right? So yeah. It's animal fat from dripping, because from the cooking, and also so you get sort of a bit of gravy down the bottom.
It's that sediment stuff.
Yeah. So what you do, it's provided there was no about. You dig it, so you've got the gravy as well.
It's a bit like Marmite, I suppose, or something like that.
Oh, nicer than bloody Marmite, of course. It was beautiful, yeah.
And like, did you have breakfasts? Did you start the day with breakfast?
No, not that I can remember. Basically bread, you know.
What was school like? You went to the older school, so was it all full?
Oh, the school was quite good. I suppose, like schools are. We used to get on all right. I remember I got the stick in school, and to this day I feel that it was wrong. Well, we was in a assembly, right? And there's all the schools in the assembly, and I passed wind.
This is Andy shit his pants, now he's farting.
Yeah. And who's that boy? What boy? And of course I was on this jar, right, come out. And I got two strokes of the cane for it. And yet my uncle, he used to walk around fighting all the time. And I just felt, well, I still, even now I think it was unfair. If you're going to fight, you're going to fight, aren't you? I mean, let's be fair. But yes, so I wasn't very happy with that. Other than that, we used to get on right to school. Yeah.
Was there? What other memories do you have from that period of your life?
Well, I remember being in class, the art master, and he says, you know, when you paint, when you're painting, you paint from right to left. Right, when you're painting, you know. So I told my dad, who was a painter, and he said, "For God," said, well, I don't know what he said, but he turned rubbish, eh? So again, little Harry boy, when we went to school again and with art master, I told him my dad said it was rubbish. So I wasn't popular again. Yeah, I remember. And the other thing I remember is that if you make school in my day, you got the birch, eh? I mean, there was no fucking about, messing about. And I remember we was in this classroom, and it was up the top. One of the boys was wagging school, and so and all of a sudden he come up all these stairs and looked in the classroom, right, you know. And of course the master saw him and chased him all. And I remember that, and I still can't remember why he came back when he was wagging school. It was, but as I say, in those days it was a serious offence, yeah. But and because it was from there that I got evacuated, yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. We'll probably leave it at that.